Hello, my name is Glenn Kohler, and I've been a certified fitness trainer for over 20 years. I work with people of all fitness levels and ages. I also like to infuse my clients' workouts with variety and fun. So today, I'm going to teach you about the benefits of juggling and how to get started. Before I do that, I have one other, well, I have several, but another activity that I enjoy doing is memorizing the irrational mathematical number pi. About 5 years ago, I recited 2,258 decimal places, which at that time placed me at number 67 in the world all time. The reason I bring this up is because despite the fact that I can remember numbers very well, I have a hard time with words, and I've tried repeatedly to do this presentation flawless, but it hasn't worked. So I'm going to use my little prompter down here occasionally to get me through. So, all right, how did I get started juggling? Well, I was about 13 years old, and I came home from the swimming pool after hanging out with some friends, and my mom was preparing dinner, and I turned on the Merv Griffin show, which I frequently did, and for those of you watching this, you probably remember Merv Griffin. And if you don't, I'll just say Merv was kind of Oprah before Oprah. So Merv had this amazing juggler on. I was fascinated, and I said to myself, I have to learn how to do this. So I found myself 3 tennis balls. I went upstairs to my bedroom. I stood over the bed because I learned very quickly that you're going to be dropping balls, all the balls, a lot, but that's okay. Now, on that note, when I say juggling, I'm not talking about being an expert or mastering this or even being very proficient. I'm talking about the act of learning something new is what creates these positive changes in the brain. So that's going to be a common theme throughout this presentation. So let's talk about the benefits that you'll derive from juggling. You'll see improvements in concentration, coordination, depth perception, peripheral vision, spatial navigation, and here's a big one for many people, balance. Also, researchers believe that juggling can help stave off many degenerative brain diseases such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. This is exciting stuff. Juggling is exercising without the drudgery that some people experience. As a matter of fact, you can burn up to 280 calories per hour by juggling. So that's also good to know. All right, so let's talk about the changes that happen in the brain when you make a commitment to practice your juggling skills on a consistent basis. All right. Like most learning processes, the process of learning how to juggle is a logical one, which takes place in the left hemisphere or the left side of the brain. However, eventually a transference happens in the brain where the right side takes over, which enables us to juggle without thinking too hard. The right side of the brain processes information in an intuitive and simultaneous manner. The right side of the brain is often referred to as the area where creativity is spawned and cultivated. It's also the part of the brain that is probably underused by most people. Okay, German researchers conducted a study where they divided people into 2 groups. The one was the control group, and the other group was going to learn how to juggle. They administered MRIs to everybody before the study began. And then 3 months later, they gave everyone MRIs again. And not surprisingly, there was no change in the control group. But very interestingly, the group that learned how to juggle, regardless of their skill level, there it is again. This is not about skills. It's about trying and learning new things. What they noticed was that they saw growth in the gray matter of the brain. Gray matter is the area that contains the actual neurons, your actual brain cells. What they noticed was that they were larger, they had larger volume and a higher density. So the size and shape actually changed. This is again very encouraging. Another study conducted by Jan Schultz and his colleagues at the University of Oxford studied the effects of juggling and white matter. Previous studies had only focused on gray matter. And cutting to the chase, what they found was juggling has positive effects on the brain as well. White matter, by the way, are the areas that contain mostly axons or outgrowths of nerve cells that connect to different cells. So what happened was, after their juggling for several weeks, it actually boosted and enhanced those cellular connections. All right, so we talked about the science. Now let's get juggling. I am obviously not an expert, as you saw earlier. My goal for producing this video was twofold. One, to just introduce an activity that almost anyone can do. And number two, to hopefully get you excited about the many positive physical and mental and brain benefits that can be achieved. There are many online juggling tutorials and resources. I will leave a link of one person that I became fond of when I was preparing for this presentation. Her name is Taylor Glenn. I like how she breaks things down. She's a very pleasant teaching style. She also has the name Glenn in her name, so I kind of like that too. Okay, so now first, before we begin to juggle, we need something to juggle, all right? I started with tennis balls, but as I came to learn, tennis balls are not recommended for beginners because they're too light and too bouncy. What is typically recommended is some sort of beanbag like I have here. It's got some significant weight when it hits or when you catch it. It's got some substance behind it. So I'm going to also leave a link for the set of tennis balls, juggling balls that Taylor Glenn endorses. You of course don't have to get these, but they're inexpensive and they're good quality. But you of course can get your juggling balls anywhere online in stores, or there's even some DIY videos if you want to do it that way. So let's get juggling. So first things first, I want you just to kind of feel what the ball feels like. Just feel how it floats through the air, what it feels like to catch. And for some people, this is probably a really appropriate place to start. Just see how high you can toss it or not. Just play with all that. So next, we're going to pick out these two imaginary points. They're about shoulder width above our head, like maybe about that high. So these are the imaginary points that we are going to aim for all of our throws, at least at the beginning. This is best for beginners. You might see more experienced jugglers juggling low and quick like that. That's fine, that'll come. So now I have one ball still, and I'm just tossing like so. I'm trying to hit those imaginary points, left to right, right to left. I'm doing my best to hit those points. Now I'm catching, but you might not even want to catch. You might just go boom and let it drop. So it takes that pressure off. All right, just boom, because again, this is going to be a constant theme. Juggling is about the throws, about tossing it. It's not so much about the catching. The catching will come, but just practice those one after another and do this a lot. Okay. So from there, we're going to take two balls. All right. So the same thing. We have those two imaginary points. And we're just going to like that. Boom, boom. I might choose. So if I can point out one mistake here, that was pretty obvious. I threw the one ball nice, and I threw the other ball sort of way too short. So I'm going to practice and go boom, boom. Right. That was a little better. Okay. And I'm not even trying to catch right now. I'm just letting them go. Okay. So boom, boom. And a troubleshooting point that I'll point out so I don't forget is you want to throw the beanbags evenly spaced. So instead of going like toss, and we'll do that because we're in a hurry, because at the beginning you're trying to catch three balls at once. It's crazy. So try not to go like toss, but rather toss, thud, thud. Toss, thud, thud. Toss, thud, thud. Okay, that's going to get your timing in sync. All right, so that's with 2 balls. Now, for me personally, when I was learning, I find, or I do this when I haven't juggled for a while, I will get 2 balls and I'll just practice in one hand. So now here I'm doing a good job in that my balls are going pretty much the same height. That's what we want. And of course, you got to do it with your non-dominant hand too. So I'm right-handed, you have to do it with your left. And this is a good place if I'm just catching up. So that's a good place to progress to before you go into the 3-ball cascade that I demonstrated. So now we have 3 balls. The same thing, we're always thinking about those imaginary points. All right, and I'm just gonna go toss, 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 boom. I did okay in the first 2 tosses, I think. The third one was kind of really short. Toss, toss, toss. Okay, maybe a little better. So you just keep practicing that, the toss, you know, then you got to try to catch. So you might just go toss, 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 try to catch 1. Again, focusing on the toss. If you like catching is like actually catching it is sort of like icing on the cake. We're still working on the tosses. So toss, 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 I catch 1. Then you go to catching 2 and catching 3. And then eventually, part of the issue is my jag's a little tight. All right, so here, so there. So you're catching all 3. And eventually it just takes over. So that gets back to what I said about the right side of the brain taking over. Your brain processes that information simultaneously, and you don't have to think about every toss. It just becomes kind of like riding a bike, so to speak. So practice, practice, practice. Consistency is another key. So you don't have to practice like hours a day, but maybe spend 10 minutes a day, you know, or 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, whatever. You know, you'll find that this gets a little addicting, especially when you're getting a little bit of skill. You might be like, oh, this is fun. So consistency, just like working out, I tell my clients the cornerstone of any fitness program is consistency and working out on a regular, consistent basis. So a couple troubleshooting. As you saw me do, a couple times I threw it out too far. Focus on getting them the same height and in the same plane. So you're not always reaching back or falling back, or that's all not. So that's all part of it. That's part of the learning curve. Another thing I like to say is sometimes we progress too quickly or we have to backtrack. So maybe you're doing the 3-ball cascade and you're not doing so well. Maybe it's time to go back to either 2 balls, toss, toss, or just going back another step, like going toss, 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 and not even trying to catch. Just get comfortable with the tosses, because the second we're tossing, we're already thinking in our minds, I have to catch that one now, and it just drives you a little insane. So those are probably some of the troubleshooting points that come to mind. Again, it's practice. You're going to get better and better, and it's fun. Okay, then. So there you have it. I hope that I've inspired some of you to take up this wonderful activity and art form. Let me recap some of the benefits that you will see. One benefit that I did not mention earlier is that juggling provides us with a very high level of brain activation, very similar to meditation. Others include what I mentioned before: balance, coordination, concentration, spatial navigation, peripheral vision, depth perception. Those are all things that we need, especially as we age. Also, researchers believe that juggling can stave off many brain diseases such as Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. Another benefit is that juggling can be very social. If you can do it with friends, it's oftentimes more fun to do it with other people. There are literally juggling groups around the world. If you Google this, I'm sure you could find a group near you pretty easily. Sometimes it actually helps to juggle with other people, because they might give you tips or get you past the plateau, or just getting yourself to the next level. It also builds confidence and gives you a sense of achievement. It's the kind of activity that is never ending. There's always something more you can strive for if you want to, but otherwise it's just a really fun activity you can do just about anywhere. Here's a little tip that I learned recently, but we had some friends visiting. For those of you who have children or grandkids or great-grandkids, juggling is mesmerizing to babies and toddlers, I've discovered over time. It gets them to stop crying when needed and focuses or refocuses their attention very often. Also, I sometimes use juggling as a warm-up, either for my own workout or my client's workout, because it gets you past that starting point, and before you know it, you're focused, you're having fun, and you might even be breaking a little sweat already. Finally, it's an inexpensive hobby, and you can bring your juggling balls just about anywhere. You can make friends, and you can even show off a little bit if that's what you want to do. In conclusion, this is not the end all of juggling tutorials. I highly recommend that you find a mentor either online or in person. I think that can be very useful. Again, I will leave you Taylor Glenn's link below. She has lots of fantastic videos at all levels. So get out there and give it a try.